Come on by and have a bite at the Crossroads Diner, the place your spirit goes when it might be time to change direction. I am today's guest, Lauren McGrew Hitzhusen, and I guess it's too late for me to talk my way out of this one.
Yes, no backsies. You're stuck with this for the next half an hour. My guest today is a longtime friend of mine. The first time that I saw Lauren, she was doing a scene from I can't remember exactly what. You were probably 12, I think, and the young lady that was her scene partner was kind of talking like this, and she was doing her thing, and Lauren went, "Well, that's not the way that I feel about it," and I went, "Oh my gosh, this one's coming into my theater program, and I will never have to say to this girl, project." Welcome to the party. Welcome to the diner.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about what you're doing these days, and then we'll go back and unpack that some more.
Yeah. So right now I am the senior editor for Maverick, which is the young adult imprint of Mad Cave Studios. I work on young adult graphic novels,
Wow.
which is, it's absolutely a dream come true. And I play a lot of D&D, and work from home and hang out with my cats.
So when you and I knew each other, you were very interested in singing. You were one of my private acting students for a time. And we had a wonderful second father-daughter relationship kind of thing, where we got to know each other pretty well over those couple of years. And then you were part of the youth group choir, Pure Sound, and all the activities we did there. And so I saw you at that point in time, absolutely in some form of arts. I had no idea it was going to go this way. But you also were always involved in cosplay and that sort of thing. Tell me a little bit about how you got involved in that and how it persists and hangs around for you.
So I think with cosplay, it was something that I saw people doing. And it was one of those things where I just wanted to be part of it. Like I didn't know anything about it past, this is a chance for you to like dress up as your favorite character. And, gosh, it took me until college before I was able to actually do it. I had a blast the first time I went to a convention in Washington, D.C. with a longtime friend of mine. And I was dating a guy at the time, and I texted him and I said, I have never been happier than I am right now. Like, I wish you were here to experience this. This is amazing. And I don't know. It's fun to kind of, it's like, it is a chance to do acting, but in a less kind of rehearsed setting. It's a little bit improv-y.
Well, it's very improv. Yeah, very improv.
Because you'll have people come up to you and talk to you like you're the character. One of my better known cosplays is Elle Woods from Legally Blonde. And the number of people that came up to me and were telling me about, this movie is the reason that I went to law school. Like, this movie changed my life.
My goodness.
And yeah, it was very special to have people saying those things to me. And, you kind of have to know how to respond in those moments. And so a lot of my love for theater has, turned into doing cosplay. It's something that I love doing. The last time I went was, I think, in September. My husband does it as well.
That's handy.
And yeah, it's great. It's nice to have a hobby that we share, and it's just a good time. It was actually something I saw another member of the choir doing earlier on, and I kept on thinking, man, like I really want to do that.
So let me jump in here. What when you left Houston for college, what was the plan?
The plan was originally I was going to do pre-med in school, and then as it turns out, that did not sit well with my stomach. So I pivoted to doing theater and math. And then from there, I actually took an aptitude test to kind of point me in the right direction of what my next step should be. I've always loved editing, and it hadn't occurred to me that that could actually be a profession.
Right.
Even though I know editors are a profession, but I took this aptitude test and it came up as an option for grad school, and I applied to a bunch of publishing programs for grad school and got into NYU. And it was just nice to see editor written down as like this quiz telling me what to do.
Right.
And I did want to edit comics in high school. I think it just was one of those things where I had no idea how to get into it.
Right.
And, grad school was my direction into it.
Okay. So you shifted from one desired path to another of your passions, to something that you still were, pretty crazy about. Now, knowing your parents the way that I do, I'm sure that they supported, but I'm ready to be stand corrected if I am wrong, but I can't imagine them not going, okay, well, let's see how that works out.
Yeah, no, they were extremely supportive. There are only a handful of publishing grad programs in the US, and I applied to all of them. And when I got into NYU, I was sitting on my grandfather's couch and I just kind of full body gasped because that was my top choice.
Right.
And no, they were very excited. They actually moved me into my apartment in New York without me there, which I'm very grateful for.
Wow.
Yeah,
well, that's a lifetime debt.
I was working at a summer camp at the time and couldn't fly up to New York for the start of my lease. So my parents drove all of my stuff up to New York and moved me into my apartment and got it all set up based on these floor plans that I had drawn out. And I am extremely grateful that they did that because I couldn't take the time off from my summer camp job to fly up to New York, move myself in, and then fly back down.
Goodness gracious. That's wow. Okay. So you're going to NYU, and you're doing cosplay and you're doing all these things. But you also worked during that time, as I recall.
I did.
Tell me some more about that.
My program required me to have at least 2 semesters of internship. And I really wanted to intern in comics, and I couldn't get this one place to reply to me, and I ended up actually being accepted at the Good Housekeeping Institute, which means that I was working in their test kitchen. So I was testing appliances, and it was a really, really cool experience. I'm extremely grateful for that time there. Because it was half museum, half test kitchen, and you really felt like you were a part of something very important. You were determining the quality. Is this Good Housekeeping approved?
Okay.
I also caught my hair on fire in that kitchen.
Why does this not surprise me?
It was pre-Instant Pot being big, and I was testing a pressure cooker, and my ponytail flopped over my shoulder into a gas burner and burned so fast that I got very, very lucky that it didn't burn more off, but it did burn my hair at an angle right about like that, and so it was pretty obvious that there was hair missing. And I was being featured in Cosmo magazine in a photo shoot literally the next day. And so I spent part of my class hour, full confession, trying to find a hair salon that would open up at 7 a.m. so that I could go fix my hair, run to a meeting with my advisor, and then run to this photo shoot. And I found one place that was open. I left them this voicemail where I'm falling apart on the phone, trying to explain that I caught my hair on fire and I was going to be modeling literally the next morning. Could they please help me? And, I ran in the next morning and there were 2 people standing there at the desk and they say, "Are you the fire girl?" So yes, I'm the girl that was on fire. And, they got me cleaned up. I ran to my meeting with my advisor after emailing her that I was, I'm running late because I had an emergency. I get through this meeting and I sigh and I say, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. My emergency is that my hair was on fire yesterday and I had to go have it repaired because after this, I am going to a photo shoot for Cosmo. And she started cracking up. She goes, well, this meeting is done. And that is actually an emergency. I promise you could have just told me instead of just being mysterious about the emergency. But Good Housekeeping was such a unique experience because I love rules. I'm a real rule person, and there are rules and methods for everything there. And then the other place I worked was Valiant Entertainment, which is a comic book publishing company. And
Say it again really slowly.
Valiant Entertainment,
Gotcha.
Which is and it was.
It sounds like a comic book company.
Yeah. They say that a friend of mine referred to it as the sausage being made, where like maybe you'll lose your taste for it working in it, but I realized that I loved like being a part of it. And I'm extremely grateful for my mentors there because I would come in, I would get through all of my intern work as quickly as I possibly could, and then go sit down next to one of the editors and just say, I'm going to sit here for 3 hours and ask you questions. And I can leave if I get annoying, but I really want to know what you're doing.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
What I remember, and I want to pay you this compliment, is that you always were very diligent and very interested in the whole thing, the project that was going on, the show, whatever it was. You were one that I could ask anything and you go, oh, sure. Okay, fine. Yeah, let me try that. I need you to walk off the edge of the stage into the orchestra pit. And you go, okay, great. That's terrific. Is there going to be like a mattress or am I just going to land on the timpani player? And, first was yes, then was how will I survive it? And so I figured that was going to be the case once you went out on your own. So now you're in graduate school at NYU, no slouch there. You're interning at Good Housekeeping, doing things at Cosmopolitan. So how did that then evolve into whatever the first job was? Is this the first job?
I got hired out of that internship with Valiant. I want to say a couple of months into my internship, I was asked out to lunch by the two heads of the company, and they said, we want to offer you a job. Where do you want to land? So I told them editorial, and my internship ended, I want to say, in December. And then I started part-time in January, worked the semester until I graduated, and then started full-time as soon as I got back from Disney World with my family. Going off of that I'll do it thing, we did this thing at Valiant where we had battle axes, like full-size big battle axes that we had engraved with a logo. And part of the thing was taking these axes over to the engraver, which was 10 or 15 blocks away, required use of the subway. And it was always me running with like 3 or 4 boxes with these big axes in them, clutching them to my chest, standing on the subway going, man, this feels really weird, but it has to get done.
Never a dull moment with Lauren. We'll get right back to Lauren's story, but I wanted to remind you that we release fresh stories every Monday and Thursday. You search for The Crossroad Diner on either YouTube or Podbean, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, and we're adding more every week. We're a very young podcast. We need your likes, we need your subscribes, and we also need your feedback. We read every review and every comment that's left for us. Also, I want you to know that everyone has a story. So if you know someone, and maybe you are someone, who has spent some time in the diner, struggling with the choices of path, let us know about that at Crossroad Diner at StoryMasterMedia.com. Crossroad is singular, not plural, not crossroads, crossroad. Crossroad Diner at StoryMasterMedia.com. Let us know that someone would like to share their story. And good contact information is essential. A couple of notes about what the journey is and the twists and turns helps us know how to reach back. That is Crossroad Diner at StoryMasterMedia.com. Now, let's get back to Lauren McGrew Hitzhusen and her story. Okay, so how did you move then from Valiant to back to Texas working out of your own home?
So after Valiant, I worked for a licensing company called Culture Fly. I was there
Okay.
for 2 years, and um, I applied for a job out of Houston because my husband and I were kind of done with New York, and I ended up getting it, and they paid for my move down. And we moved down. The pandemic happened. Things obviously changed with the pandemic, so I freelanced for about a year. Worked in mental health for a little bit, doing editorial there, and I emailed Mad Cave and said, here's my resume. Please let me know if there are any openings. And they said, yeah, we'd love to have you.
Okay.
Um,
Hang on a second. I want to get right back to that. But first, let's
mhm.
what did your job consist of when you were doing the licensing? What did that look
so
like?
I ran social media accounts for a variety of licensors. The company I worked for made subscription boxes, um, just full of merchandise based around certain shows or properties, and I ran the associated social media accounts for them. So it meant that, I'd spend my afternoon writing about Batman, and then, as evening got along, I'd have to kind of change my mentality and think a little bit more about writing for children's brands.
Got it.
Um, it it was it was a great opportunity for me to see how far I could like stretch my writing and how I could rephrase certain call to actions to make them fit within um a certain voice, because
Right.
obviously a post asking you to do something for Game of Thrones is not going to sound the same as one for Build-A-Bear.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to remember the things I worked with.
there would be a change there. Okay, so now then you landed here,
Yes.
and it sounds like you just went from one thing that you loved to another thing that you loved.
Yeah.
What did you learn about yourself as you were going through those variations? Because when I knew you last, I expected you to be auditioning for everything off Broadway, on Broadway, regional, anything. And it sounds like you just did. And I never knew that you had an interest in medicine. So
Uh,
fill out that arc for me.
my senior year of college, I got pretty sick, um, and it kind of messed up my senior year. Like I had this very specific vision for how I felt my senior year was going to go, where I was going to get the leads in the shows, and then that would really like prove my worth. I'd make a great reel, and I got too sick to perform. Um, and I it was just kind of one of those things where I had to stop and think about other things that I could do. Like I still participated in acting, but the problem was that I could feel that I wasn't where I wanted to be.
Gotcha.
Um, and it was not a super fun time. But I'm still able to use a lot of the acting things I learned in my editing, because so much of looking at comics is how two people are interacting, and there's a lot of sitting there going, does this visually make sense? Is this body moving the way a body would? I'm very grateful for Dan, my husband, because I'll occasionally grab him and be like, okay, I'm going to grab your wrist and I need you to bend to the side, and I'm going to make sure that this actually visually makes sense.
Oh, that's lovely. That's great.
It's just, here's a ruler. I'm going to stab you awkwardly. I just need to make sure that my arm is actually going at this angle that I just saw. Um, but, and I still kind of do acting in terms of like playing tabletop role playing games. I'm with a bunch of people who were also theater majors in college. So we take things very, very, very far, and we have a lot of fun with it.
Well,
Um,
but also all this editorial and the writing, um, you're a storyteller in that,
mhm,
and that you get to improv a little bit because they're storytellers too, and you've got a loose direction, and then you act out within character.
yeah.
So yeah, so the acting is there, but also the improv, the creativity, storytelling.
I wanted to go into medicine because I really, really loved Dana Scully in the X-Files. I was going to try and go the Dana Scully route. Um, in case you're
Love
wondering
it.
where medicine came from,
Yeah.
I love the X-Files.
So
um,
what was the wall that you hit there?
um, so
And
there
you
was
don't have to share that if you don't want to.
no, I was trying to figure out where to start. There was a video um, that we were watching in one of my theater classes, and the point of the video was to show that your entire body is connected.
Right.
Um, and they were using a cadaver. And I remember clear as day in the video, they say, watch what happens when I pull on the cadaver's tongue. And they pull on this cadaver's tongue, and the big toes wiggled.
Oh,
And
wow.
I got so dizzy watching that. I was like, nope, can't do it. Not for me.
Okay.
As it turns out, I'm fine watching scary movies, but the second I know it's a real person is where I draw the
Okay.
line.
Well, that makes complete sense to me. But it wasn't, how much did you grieve that?
I think I grieved it a little. Um, it was disappointing in that I knew I would have to pivot and kind of realign what I wanted to do because it was always theater and something else. It was a passion and a job. And
Okay. Okay.
um,
Where did that come from?
the passion and a job thing.
Yeah.
Um, I think I picked it up possibly from the way my sister did college, where she majored in psychology and Spanish. Um, and I grieved it a little, and I remember with my roommate, we had our whiteboard and we sat down and we wrote out every single job I felt like I could possibly be happy doing in the future. In one night, because I came back from that class and I said, like, Ezra, I cannot do this. And they said, great, cool, let's figure it out. And we wrote everything down from like dog trainer to math teacher to everything. And, while we didn't get it figured out exactly that night, we at least knew that medicine wasn't going to be the thing.
Well, Lauren, you're a very, very smart young lady, and you've always been clever, picked up things quickly. It's my guess that there are things that you can do and that you could make a living at that you don't particularly want to do.
Yeah,
Did any of those make the list?
um, you know, it's been a while since I thought about this list. Like I can see it in my head, but the only things I can really remember are dog trainer and math teacher.
Well, then, so then, am I right? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I guess I'm going to. It seems to me that what you did was what you just said that you did. You made a list of all the things that you might enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Not even things that you might be able to get the job, but things that you might enjoy. So the criteria was that you could be there.
Yeah. It was important to me to go into a career where I would be excited to do the work. And, comics is that. I
Sure.
am excited to look at art. I'm excited to talk to writers. I'm excited to move commas around and do balloon placement. It's important to me to love what I do. I know some people are able to just do the job and then their passion is separate,
Right.
but I want to be excited.
That's wonderful. Now, where'd you go to college?
I went to a tiny liberal arts school called Juniata. It is in
Okay.
central Pennsylvania.
Okay. Not too far from New York.
Yeah.
Right in the corner. Okay. So, this is when it was a small school, so you knew a lot of people.
Yes.
One of the things that many people face that you haven't, but I wonder if you were around people who did, who were there not out of their own choice, but because of an expectation that parents or tradition or their family or whatever. Did you come across any of that in your college experience, or was everybody on their own path?
I definitely met some people who uh, their parents really wanted them to pursue certain careers, but I feel honored to have seen a lot of them really change and grow and figure out what makes them happy. Um, and I have a very good friend who I watched kind of fall into a passion for linguistics and studies, and she's pursuing her PhD right now.
Wow.
And we took a linguistics class together, and I thought I was doing okay in that class, and she was just flying through everything. And it was really neat for me to see that click for her. Um, so I don't know that I necessarily saw anyone have kind of that big dramatic, no, mom, I'm doing my own thing, but I did see people kind of quietly discover themselves and become more comfortable and happy. And it it was a real honor for me to get to see that in my
Yeah.
friends.
And so you were witness to some of that personal evolution
Yeah.
through the college years. That's great. When you were talking about the things and you talked about your love of comics, if it hadn't been for the Big Bang Theory, I think the population of people who would associate that with intelligence and quickness of mind and whatnot would be. Am I off base on that? Because it just seems to me like that's what brought me into the world of graphic novels.
I I talk with a lot of people who work in that industry, and they're all very funny. Like across the board, some of the funniest people I've ever met, and they're all very witty. And I think that it's an industry that kind of draws those people in because you do get to be creative and you get to be a little off the wall, and it's a very collaborative back and forth. It is really a bit like directing a play, where you get to be collaborative and everyone's got these unique skills. And I think so much has changed about the comics world, even since I was in high school when I first started getting into comics. Um, I joke that I'm a late bloomer in comics because I didn't read my first comic until maybe my freshman year. Um,
Oh, college,
and of high school.
high school. Okay,
Yeah, which a lot of my friends and colleagues were reading comics when they were 5 or 6.
sure.
Um, it's Things have changed. It's Everyone has a favorite superhero now.
Right.
And the answers are getting a little bit more obscure than just Batman or Superman. Like people are taking deeper cuts because there is so much media. And I think because more people are seeing that it is a community in which it's very easy to find yourself. You do attract a lot more of like the smart and the quick-witted people and just all sorts of people because you can see yourself in comics and you can see people and stories that you can relate to. Um, I know that my mom really loves The Big Bang Theory, and I know she got a lot of her initial understanding of my world from The Big Bang Theory.
Which is quite appropriate since Jim Parsons went to U of H and is one of us. So, given that you have been on your path and have never really varied much from your path, you may not have a philosophical word to share. But for people who might be at a crossroad, maybe they're not happy with what they're doing. Maybe they have found out that, yeah, I wanted to do this, but I can't mess with the toes of cadavers. Um, what kind of counsel, you're in your late 20s and you are looking at a place that you're very happy to be. What would you say to people that were in their late teens who are setting off on that journey?
um, you never know unless you try.
Hmm.
Um, I've had a lot of things happen just because I asked and I tried and I was persistent. Um, and it's a matter of just putting yourself out there. I was having a conversation with a friend and I said, you can't be the one to reject yourself. That's someone else's job. Um,
I like that.
it, yeah, you have to put yourself out there and just try. And people are so focused on like themselves that if you make a fool of yourself, it's not likely that anyone's going to notice.
Yeah.
it's worth it to try and ask. I didn't get my internship at Valiant without chasing down an actual human being at a comic convention and saying, look, I've applied to your internship 6 times and I haven't gotten a rejection. Can you please just reject me?
I wonder how many times I've ever heard that approach.
And the guy said, I don't run our internship program. Give me your card. I will go talk to the guy who does it. And they found all of my applications in their spam filter. And you just have to try. Everyone else is trying. It's a matter of taking a deep breath and going for it. And the very worst thing that happens is you find out that you don't like it.
Right. And
or it's not a fit for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one of the other things that I was going to open with, and I totally forgot to do it, is that the first show that you were in for me was the Crossroad Diner.
Yep.
And you remembered that when we first connected about this possibility. I think that's very symmetric. I like that a lot. And I want to thank you for being in the diner today and sharing us your journey. And we'll probably have you back. I want to have you back in about a year and see what has evolved and see what new paths you might be on. For Lauren McGrew, say it.
McGrew Hitzhusen. Lauren McGrew Hitzhusen.
Oh my Lord, Lauren McGrew Hitzhusen. I'm Steve McCurdy. Be with us next time in the Crossroad Diner. Come on by and have a bite every Monday and Thursday in the Crossroad Diner, a place where your spirit goes when it might be time to change direction. And tell your friends who might be at a decision point in their life to check out the diner. It might be the very thing that they need. See you next time.